Hi everyone, it's Caroline. Welcome to my desk. Thank you for coming over today. It's lovely to see you. I'm doing the flip through of my completed September white mini journal. And here she is with all her threads and shabbiness. I'll link all the videos that I did constructing, making the base and doing some of the pages. Also doing the cover here. Now when you look at this cover, and I just have to flip the tie out of the way, and then I get into my journal for the first page going on this way. And here we are, the first. And this is my personal journal, so I did some, every day I did journal in here. First page I have a little bit of everything, some magazine images, and then some of my own art, laces, and different text. And on this one I have a pocket here, and I just use lots of threads, different tags that I made, which I journaled on. So it's just a lot of using up what I have on my desk, which is how I like to journal. This one was this was the first day of school for our children, our grandchildren here. And so I did that one with the little flip. That was fun. That. And then pictures of our grandchildren. I haven't looked in here since I did it, so I have to remember where I put all the tags. So that flips back like that. And then we have this one with the little tag. I did some, it's a flip up here, just some journaling. This little tag that I made sits in here. And then that goes up like that. Used some tissue paper, made a little pocket. Embellished all my little pieces of paper with stamped items. Lots of journaling. Wanted to keep it fairly neutral, not have too many bright things. There's a few colors that'll stand out. And this one here, I just made a pocket, lots of just clusters with scraps. This one was made with an extra piece of the paper that I used for the journal, which is a very soft, I'll say it's a writing paper, very soft. This one here, I used some bulb pins, and I made this tag. Did some writing on there. Used a magazine image. I love the color here, the blue, the bike. And I used my own handmade paper. And then this was a pocket that I had put in a card that I made into a pocket, and that was my doodle flower. And so this was a black and white printable that I did. I did some coloring on it, and then I put this rose, and then on the back side I put some embossed paper, another rose, and just a piece of fabric there. Have to hold it up. And then on this one I put a little bead through the paper clip. And I made a little tag here that I journaled on. I did some molding paste and just did some clusters. Pardon my voice. I feel like I'm going to lose it. Did some stamping. This was a little experiment that I did. I had some fabric, so I just scanned it, and it didn't come out the way I wanted it to. It's more gray. I guess it's just the way the scanner works, but I still like it. It has some hues of pink in it. Just did some slow stitching here, made a little little button with some cardboard, and I covered it with my paper, and that just holds this flap down that I did some journaling on. And I used my stamped tissue paper. And then on this side, I had this piece of packaging that I cut down to size to fit on the page. So it's a frame, and I just redid it so that it would fit there. And then I made these little journaling tags, journaling cards with little scraps of paper, and I'm just sitting it in there. And same thing here. This is a stamp that I have that I also did some inking on. And then over here, this is the paper clip. I had made this pocket, and I added some lace to it. And then I have some journaling cards. And this was a free digital from Old Decina Scrap Anne. And so that I used that as a journaling card. And this was just a journaling, yeah, that was, I think that was part of the same set. So that was fun to use. I had purchased, or I had downloaded this digital image before I made the journal, so that was a good way to use it. And then in here I have some cardstock that I had just cut around. This was packaging too. And then I made myself a couple of little file index cards. I didn't have any index cards that were plain, and so I just made these, made the tabs, and I just sewed the tabs on like that. And I put a picture of our granddaughter on there. And I had this bow that I cut out and put it on top of this little crocheted doily, little piece of crochet doily. So I did that, stamped it. Brings us to this page over here, which was this was a scanned doily that I did a black inking of I just did this stamp on there, and I did it so that I could have the greenery here as the leaves, and then it turned out really nice. Here's another part of it here, and I have this ruffle. Made a little journaling card, and I just it's a pathway in a garden, and I just put follow your path, and I did some journaling on there. That just sits in. I have a video on this one. Just made this card, this tag. Nice Girl from Good Home, that was cute. Little flip pocket from a envelope that I made, and then a card that I journaled on. And then on this side, it was just a lot of, I did a stamp on top of a letter that I had, little pieces of that, some lace. I put some thread on here, put a button on, a little scrap piece of paper that I did some journaling on here. Another little circle tab that I'm holding this down, little flip up that I did some journaling on there. This was a scrap piece of paper that I was just testing some of my stamps and did some inking, and I had this in my basket, so I used that. This one over here is a little bow. I made my own little sort of doily with my my fancy edger, my lacy edger. So I just made this little flip. And it just gets tied up here like that. Little buttons, little button cluster. And then on this one, this is just a cluster here that I had. I'm trying to see, I don't think that's a pocket. No, it's just a bunch of papers together because I do have a pocket here that when I first made the journal, I made it into a pocket. And then I have this lovely girl that I have. I have the original picture and I just did a photocopy. And I did some journaling on the back. Put a little stamp. I made a stamp out of a piece of washi tape. And so that goes in here. And I've used her a couple of times. I love this photo. It's beautiful. This is another pocket here that I did a cluster on top. Just did a lot of layers. And then inside here, I have another journaling card that I had made with my doodles. So I journaled, and then I had one of my my check, an old coffee stained check receipt, and I just did that. Couldn't think of what it was called. That goes in there. Another little card that I did some layers and then some journaling. Just did lots of doodads on here. A stamp, little bits and pieces, some hearts. I just sewed them together, and that makes my little holder for the card, the tag. And on here, I added a button on some thread and made a flip up with this. I added some of my stamped on tissue paper, and then I did some journaling in here. So some of the pages I wanted to keep them fairly flat because I could see how it was bulking up. And this is another handmade envelope that I put my stamp on, and I did some inking on there. Made a little tag out of a journaling card from, this was a printable that I had from earlier on in the year, so I kept that, sewed around it, and I just used it to journal on. Put a little fabric tab. And here I'm using some of the negative glassine bags that I received from Colleen. This was a slide protector. So I've been using these, made it into a pot. Well, I kept it as a pocket. And then I just used some scraps again to make a little journaling tag. Had to write really tiny in some spots. And then this was a fun little experiment that I did, and I'm trying to remember who inspired me. And it's made with toilet paper. I did some embossing, and it was so fun to do. So I used this. It was like a practice run, and I used it as a belly band. So here I just did I just covered up a piece of wax paper, put some thread, a little bit of words here. This was I have a bunch of old postcards that my brother and my sister-in-law gave me, and I did a collage. I photocopied them front and back. So I used that my own printable, and I just cut it up. And so what I did is I took one of the pictures from my stash, and I just put it in here, and I added my little bit of journaling, and that's what I made that little journal spot, and I put it in here. Kind of got imaginative. Here we are with a clock and some of my Hollywood pages, and I added some beads to some thread and did a little cluster here. Made a scrappy little note. little journaling spot. And here I did a little bit of lace cluster, some more book page, and I just did some reinforcements on the corner, and I had added a piece of scrap paper, and I did some journaling there. And this was also some stamping on some white paper with my tissue paper, and I made a couple of little dangles with my punched out hearts on there. And this page, we're getting to the end. This is September 30th. I had this Peter Rabbit page left over from something else that I did, so I took that and made a tag out of it. Journaled on the back, and I just added some of my little scraps to make the tab at the top. There's a piece of doily that I used as my belly band, or not my belly band, but my pocket. And did some more clusters on this side. I had to fill up some of I made extra pages, so I have another one of my little string heart dangles. I added some fabric and cheesecloth, and I had made this fun layered tag with one of the old photos that I have. So I don't know these people, but that's fun. And it just has all kinds of layers on it. And this one here is and then this is just a piece of letter, an old letter that I had printed off, and then I did some journaling on there. And I just covered it, tied it with this piece of cotton. This is a pocket. And this is an old gas receipt that I had tea stained. So I just layered that in there. This was when I first started the journal. I had decorated some of the pages. I added this though later, a little cluster with a button. And then I also made this tag, and I did some molding paste. Did a little bit of stamping. I took a cluster of thread that I had been collecting and put a bead in there. And I did some journaling. And I just did some journaling on here at the very beginning of October, so that's why it says October. This is my September journal. and my own photograph that I printed off. And then I just did some journaling on there. We're back to the front. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. The only thing that's different, and again, it's my journal, so getting into the journal is a little backwards, but that's okay. I don't mind at all. Well, hopefully you were inspired and take some ideas for your own journaling. Use your scraps and digitals. Book pages, a little bit of everything in here. There's lace, and there's little ripped up pieces of fabric. There's some embossing. I did some textured areas with my molding paste. And I think that covers it. Lots of threads. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming over today. I appreciate seeing you. I hope you're inspired to create. As always, stay adventurous and be cozy. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.